Ann Coulter says that she's going to pull out of her speech at Berkeley. This is an ongoing conversation. Started, there was a lawsuit that was involved, and the judge said that she had to be able, the university had to allow her to speak. But Ann Coulter said herself that she is canceling her planned speech at the University of California, Berkeley, because, quote, she had lost the backing of conservative groups that had initially sponsored her appearance. According to Ann Coulter, she said that it's a sad day for free speech. Okay, I can't do this story like she's a real person. I didn't know gremlins could experience grief and sadness. I did not realize that. Ann Coulter is the quintessential troll. She is a person who travels around the country to say inflammatory things for the sole purposes of making money. And so for her to say that it's a sad day for anything, you have to have a soul to actually be sad. You have to have some humanity to experience grief. I don't believe that Ann Coulter can actually experience grief, because even if she ever had a soul, she's clearly dead on the inside. So I'm really just kind of laughing on the inside in this idea that she's sad about something. And then this idea that it's a sad day for free speech. Let me throw another group in here, a group that I donate to, the ACLU. They tweeted this out earlier today, saying that basically the same thing, co-signing with Hillary Clinton. What Ann Coulter said, that this was a sad day for freedom of speech. Here's the problem. There has always been a competition for speech. Free speech does not mean that you have the right to say what you want to say unchallenged. And what's happening in the Berkeley situation is that people are challenging her speech with their own freedom of speech. And I can't for the life of me understand why the ACLU cannot embrace that concept. I get this idea. This is a very liberal idea. It is a liberal thought that everyone should be able to say whatever they want to say, no matter how hateful it is. Nobody is stopping you from saying what you want to say. Likewise, you cannot stop me from challenging what you want to say and saying something back and saying it to the top of my lungs. And so if you want to yell hate speech, I can out yell you with whatever speech that I want to yell, because I want to challenge your speech. That's what happens in the public square. There is a competition in the public square for ideas and for speech. And the First Amendment does not protect your right to say what you want to say unchallenged. And I'm not quite sure why all of the great thinkers and great attorneys at the ACLU can't get this very simple concept. Yes, Ann Coulter has the right to speak anywhere she's paid and hired to come speak her evilness. But you know what? Protesters have the right to shout at the top of their lungs against. And think about how ridiculous it was last week when Donald Trump's lawyers, attorneys, actually put out a memo saying that Donald Trump's First Amendment was being violated because of protesters. How completely obscene and absurd was that notion? So much so that I can't believe an attorney actually stood in front of a judge and made that argument. I don't know that there's enough money in the world that Donald Trump could pay me to stand before a judge knowing full and damn well that I'm getting ready to be embarrassed because of this fatuous argument, and then still get up there and do it. I don't know that I can do it, but clearly he found some attorneys who were willing to go in front of a judge and say that his First Amendment freedom of speech was violated because of protesters. That's not how it works. And this is the same thing conceptually. This is the same exact thing. Protesters shouted and resisted and did everything they could to let it be known that they disagree, even if it's a preemptive disagreement with this soulless person known as Ann Coulter, who is not capable of experiencing grief and sadness, which I find is completely hilarious that she says that this is a sad day. So anyway, this has divided a lot of people on the left. I'm surprised. You have the left is not a monolith. Just no ideology is. No side of the spectrum is a monolith, and in that regard, it's clear that people have differences of opinions on this, and I can understand. I can understand the basis of both sides of the argument, right? So if I were to be try to do it fairly and argue the other side of the argument, which I don't really genuinely believe. Let's see how good I can do it. The other side of the argument is that I can't do it. I can't. I'm trying. I'm trying because I don't believe it. It's like I get that I want a Klansman to be able to go into the public and to march and to shout at the top of their lungs that white lives are the only lives that matter. I get that. I don't want anyone to stop the Klan from saying whatever they want to say. Because if they stop the Klan from saying what I institutionally stop the Klan from saying what they want to say, then they can stop me from saying what I want to say. But you know what you cannot prevent? You cannot prevent counter protests. You cannot prevent anti-racists from Antifa. You can't prevent them from showing up and saying face to face, in their face, you shout all lives matter, you shout white lives matter, and then somebody shouts back black lives matter. You cannot prevent that, because trying to stop that for the sake of making sure that these racists and these other people, let's forget the fact that they're racist, that these other people are you're trying to secure a platform for these other people. If the only way you can secure that platform is by denying someone else their right to protest, then you are yourself violating the First Amendment. How does the ACLU not get this? I get how Coulter and other people like that will use this to draw sympathy and try to forward their political agenda. I get how they would do it, disingenuously so. But the ACLU, of all people, I need to find a way to get my refund. Not really. I'm gonna leave you alone. You could keep the little. I didn't send you much anyway. But the point is this. It's very simple. The best way I guess another example is Philadelphia. When we went to the DNC, there was an abortion, there was a pro-life movement, and it wasn't even pro-life. It was basically anti-everything that's progressive movement that was sitting in the middle of it was actually not even a Bernie Sanders rally so much as it was like Bernie Sanders rally / socialist rally. There was a lot of different groups who had gathered, and dead smack in the middle were a bunch of people with signs that saying God hates, F's. God hates you, if you ever had sex out of marriage, all this religious jargon, and they were protected by the police. No problem. I get it. They need to hide behind the police. That did not stop me or anyone else from going face to face with them and challenging them. I have the video too. I never share that video, but going face to face with them and challenging them on every single thing that they have to say, to the point where they got frustrated and left. It's not my fault that they left. It's not my fault that they continuously were challenged, because I have the right to be out there just like every counter protester had a right to be out there. And yes, they had a right to be out there as well. But we cannot start creating and securing. Pause. Rewind the tape. These are the same people who complain about safe spaces. This is essentially trying to create a safe space for hate speech. I don't really care what type of speech it is. You're trying to create a safe space. I'm opposed to safe spaces for liberals, for progressives. My position is that you do not have the right to go into the public square and be unchallenged. That's the purpose of the public square. If you want to go to your private meeting, fine. You want to go to your lodge, fine. You want to go to your club, fine. But when you are in the public, you do not have the constitutional right to be unchallenged. Because if we're going to create a safe space, the only way we're going to create a safe space for you is by violating the rights of someone else, the First Amendment rights of someone else. I know someone at the ACLU has to understand that. I know Ann Coulter is smart enough to understand that, but she knows how to use this for her political advantage. And so she says from the depth of her soulless heart that this is a sad day for free speech. No, this is actually a sad day for people who cannot handle some basic cognitive dissonance and some basic tension in competing rights. Because once rights compete, you have to step back. The government has to step back and allow those rights to compete, particularly the First Amendment right to say something. You have to take a step back and let the people with hate speech shout as loud as they want, and allow the counter protesters to shout as loud as they want as well.